First came to the Valley in '86, lived here 15 years, went away for a while, came back 2 years ago. There's been a lot of row about whether you should have impact fees. That was a big, hot topic issue when I was here before the Olympics. There's a lot of fighting against that. Development would be stalled, and the growth rate would crash, and so on and so forth. I don't know whether those impact fees are being charged for the new homes or not. During the summers, I worked for a company that helps build new homes and buildings and what have you in the county and up in Summit County. My perspective is that of someone who makes $30,000 a year or less, considerably less. I don't know how many of you are in my category, but there's a lot of people in this county that are the grunt labor. Some have education, some don't. Some have special odd skills, some don't. But for whatever reason, we don't make a pile of money. I think Rush calls them wackos, suggests something called a progressive tax. You make a lot of money, you pay more taxes, percentage-wise, than somebody that doesn't. Now, if we have gained, out there it said it was 6,000 people back in the middle 80s, and now it's 25,000. That means we've gained an awful lot of taxable property, like the previous gentleman said. Aren't you squirreling a considerable chunk of that change away for your needs? And each year taking a little bit of that? There should be no need for a tax increase. There should be no need. If the shoe fits, wear it. If you guys have made this grievous mistake over the past 2 decades, it's not my fault. Not your fault, it's not your fault. It's the administration that isn't watching out for things, and that's what they are elected to do. It is not right to suddenly come up with 50,000 gallons of water and dump it on somebody's automobile and say, gee, there's a little bit of a flood there. You should be leaking out things a little at a time over the decades and not shock people this way. It does not work for old folks, for low-wage people. What about these veterans coming home whose heads have been jarred in Iraq and Afghanistan? They have problems organizing their lives, and they don't need stuff like this thrown at them. I'm not a veteran. I got my head jarred really bad as a boy. I'm one of the traumatic brain injury types that has a tough time organizing life. Don't throw shocks at us this way. If you want to drive us out of Wasatch County, just come on over, offer me a good amount of money for my house, and show me down Provo Canyon. We don't want your kind in this valley anymore. If that's not how you feel about it, then plan accordingly, because that's the kind of thing that drives us away. I don't have any objection. In fact, I appreciate top quality EMS and fire service. I worked for Dr. Murdoch a long time ago on the crew for a couple of years. I know what it's like out there at 3 in the morning on the road next to Deer Creek picking up the pieces. Been here, done this. While I'm not a firefighter, I'm scared to death of fire, I applaud your men for the courage and the training and the conviction to stand there and do something about it while my house tries to burn down. I'm not against the firefighter. I am seriously pissed off at administration that pulls a huge bundle like this over the decade. Don't do this. And finally, anytime there's a call for a public examination and a public referendum and a public vote on anything, it's justified. Because I don't live in China yet. I live in what I think of as the old United States, where my bloody vote counts way more than a corporate one. My vote counts more than a lobbyist does. And so does yours and yours and yours. So if you favor this and you applaud what the fire department is doing, good for you. Vote yes. What's the problem? It ain't personal. But if you happen to think that that senator from Vermont or wherever he's from that calls himself an independent and asks lots of embarrassing questions and tries to get to the nitty-gritty, has some basis to his concerns and his fears, Sanders is his name, then you deserve the detailed answers, and you deserve the future to be a little bit each year. Yep, we're going to need over the next decade a bunch of new equipment. This year we're going to ask you for 10% of the next 10 years' needs. And each year it'll be 10% or whatever. But not this. It's too much of a shock. And you might drive some of us, you will drive some of us out of Wasatch County because we don't all live in the Red Ledges. We don't all have that kind of money. Thank you.